The representative of Hamilton has the floor.
Recently, I've started to read a lot more about the history of Canadian politics. And a big takeaway that I've found compared to other countries is that the political system in Canada is really volatile, meaning it's not uncommon to see massive swings in support for different parties. But what we are seeing here today, in 2025, is one of the biggest political swings at the federal level we have ever seen in Canadian history. So let's quickly go back, take a look at what we've been through. So back in December of 2024, Chrystia Freeland, who is the Deputy Prime Minister, practically the second in command, released a scathing letter undermining her greatest ally and partner, Justin Trudeau. This letter sent shockwaves across Ottawa. And at the time before the letter, there were already calls for Justin Trudeau to step down. There were maybe 6 or 7 Liberal MPs calling for his resignation. But after that letter came out, that number quickly rose to nearly 80% of his own party. And at that point, when not only a majority, but a strong majority want you gone as the leader, unless you want your own party to start a coup on itself, you should probably step down. Similar thing happened to Joe Biden in the United States, except instead of a scathing letter bringing him down, it was an absolutely abysmal debate performance.
Dealing with everything we have to do with,
After Joe Biden stepped down, they picked a new leader almost immediately in Kamala Harris. And the Democrat Party did see slight increases in popularity after that. But it is nothing compared to the swing that we have seen over the past 2 months since Justin Trudeau resigned. Okay, let me put you in the mind of the average Canadian 2 months ago. The Liberal Party was in fucking shambles. Everybody was calling for the leader of the party to step down. Everybody was on a different page, and the Liberals were not unified at all. They seemed to be the most dysfunctional party in Parliament, and the polling at the time absolutely reflects that. You can see here around the beginning of January of 2025, the Liberals were just about tied with the New Democratic Party, and the popularity of the Conservative Party was double that of the Liberal Party. Double! Liberals had roughly 20% support and the Conservatives had around 40%. And the biggest reason for this decline, a lot of people would say, is Justin Trudeau and how extremely unpopular he is. Before he resigned, his approval rating was in the fucking teens. And Justin Trudeau himself was the main item that the Conservatives were attacking. It wasn't that the Liberal Party is making your life worse, it's that Justin is making your life worse.
It's time for a change in this country, my friends. A real change. A real change. A real change. A real.
Hey, I know that spot. Wait, 1 second. The Conservatives did a really good job and spent a lot of advertising money villainizing Justin Trudeau specifically. A lot of times, Pierre, the leader of the Conservative Party, would say the only reason Justin Trudeau is still in power is because he's power hungry. He doesn't want to let go of his position. Well, guess what? He let go of his position. And those millions of dollars spent on attack ads against Justin Trudeau suddenly mean absolutely nothing. So I made a video a few months ago talking about the potential replacements for Justin Trudeau. And at the time, before anybody knew who this guy was, I very confidently predicted that Mark Carney was going to win. He seemed like the guy most of the Liberal base rallied support around. He has a lot of professional experience in the financial sector. One of the biggest arguments people have against the Liberals is how they deal with finances in the budget. And he's also served as the head of the Bank of Canada under the Conservative Party with Stephen Harper. A lot of the Liberal base took a strong liking to him very early on, especially after his interview with The Daily Show, which I mentioned. For a lot of Canadians, that was the first time they had ever seen or heard of this guy, and he made a great first impression on the show. Whether you like him or not, there's no denying that.
The financial crisis that hit this country terribly. I thought Canada avoided the worst of that.
We didn't do things that we didn't understand.
You're saying you thought, let's not let the banks dissolve mortgages into particulate matter, mix it into cups,
Throw it off, yeah.
throw it in the air, and then sell that. How did you not have to do that?
We didn't understand it, John.
So just a few days ago, the Liberal Party officially had their election for a new leader. And what do you know? Mark Carney won with a staggering 86% of the vote. A lot of people expected him to win on the first ballot, but 86% is ridiculous. So how the Conservative Party has pivoted was to try and make it seem like the frontrunner, Mark Carney, is just a carbon copy clone of Justin Trudeau, so that he can convince his base, hey, remember all those attack ads on Justin Trudeau that we put out? Those exact same points can be applied to this guy too, so don't worry.
Carbon tax Carney. He's just like Justin.
But at the same time, Mark Carney is this fresh new face. Yes, he has helped out the Liberal Party here and there, but he hasn't exactly been critical for them, from what I've read. Apparently he's given a lot of pointers to Justin Trudeau about the economy, but who knows how much of that Justin Trudeau actually implemented. He was only actually hired by the Liberal Party as a financial advisor in September of 2024, so it's really hard to blame him for all the economic mistakes that Justin Trudeau has made, but the Conservative Party is definitely going to try their best. So Justin Trudeau stepping down and Mark Carney stepping up is a big reason for this Liberal resurgence. But it's not the only reason, and I would say it's the second most important reason. No, the number one reason why the Liberals are doing so good in the polls right now is Donald Trump. Throughout Donald Trump's blind threats of tariffs and us becoming the 51st state annexing us, it really seems like the Liberal Party has unified against Donald Trump and for Canada in a way that I would have thought to be impossible just 2 months ago. The Liberals seem to honestly be very focused and have been taking action immediately. When Trump put the 25% tariffs on Canada, we retaliated with 25% tariffs on them instantly. And when Trump backed down and took the tariffs off, the Liberal Party made the bold decision to keep our tariffs on until the threats from Donald Trump stopped. And honestly, in my personal opinion, the Liberal Party deciding to keep the tariffs on when Donald Trump backed down is such a big dick move, and I gotta respect it. The Liberal Party in charge right now is not letting Trump fuck with us. He can claim he wants us to be the 51st state. He can throw tariffs at us willy-nilly, doesn't matter. The Liberal Party has proven that they will retaliate with equal or greater force back to the United States. And I want to cross party lines for a bit and give the same level of appreciation to Doug Ford of the Conservative Party of Ontario. We disagree on a lot of fundamental things, but we definitely agree on our love for Canada. And Doug Ford has been equally tough, maybe even tougher on the US than the federal Liberal Party. So kudos to Dougie for fighting back. As an Ontarian, I really do appreciate it. So in saying that, the Conservative Party at the federal level, they're trying to go with the more cooperative approach. We should talk to Trump and try and fix our border before leaning into any drastic measures like retaliatory tariffs. Although now the Conservatives seem to be a big fan of retaliatory tariffs now that they're actually in place.
My message to the President is this: Canada will fight back. There's no doubt that our economy will suffer. But so will yours, President Trump.
So if the Conservatives were in power, would they have put on the tariffs? People have definitely lost a bit of confidence in the Conservative Party. Remember, I said back in January of 2025, the Conservatives had double the amount of support that the Liberals had. But today, in March, they're virtually tied. In less than 2 months, the Conservatives have gone from a double lead to a near tie. And I believe the reasoning for that is because the Conservative Party has been very weak with being able to change its messaging on the fly. They were really committed to the anti-Trudeau sentiment, how he's costing Canadians with his high taxes and the carbon tax, how he's letting too many unskilled immigrants in. But now we're in March, and our closest neighbor has been threatening the sovereignty of our own nation. Yet most of the advertisements I hear from the Conservative Party are just bashing the Liberals about the carbon tax.
Today, Mark Carney announced that he will pause Trudeau's carbon tax.
Form of carbon tax.
Carbon tax Carney.
After the election, he will bring in a much bigger carbon tax.
We are going to have a carbon tax election.
And then he'll bring in the mother of all carbon taxes.
And yes, the carbon tax is a decisive issue. And politically, it may have been a smart move to prioritize that last year. But like I said in a previous video, The world has changed forever. So in short, the Liberal Party has done a really good job at adapting to this changing world, and the Conservative Party has not. So if I could give any advice to the Conservatives about what they need to do to regain their momentum, start being hard on Trump and the US. Take a page out of Doug Ford's playbook. Look at what he's doing. He's a conservative politician in a fairly liberal part of the country, and yet the province massively supports him right now. Pierre could have easily taken the same route, but so far he just hasn't. Like, Pierre, what are you doing here? But something else that I feel like the Canadian media isn't really talking about is how poorly the NDP is doing as well. Again, the NDP and the Liberals were nearly tied, but now the New Democrats have slipped from 20 points down to 14. It's not as big of a change as the other two parties, but that's still massive. And I think it comes down to the same reason. The New Democrats and their leader, Jagmeet Singh, is not going about this threat with Donald Trump the right way. One of the biggest things I've seen him complain about over the past month is the fact that Donald Trump is still invited to the G7.
We need to ban Donald Trump from attending the G7 summit.
While the Liberals are fighting back with real economic policies themselves, Jagmeet claims the Liberals aren't doing enough because he's still gonna be at the G7. Why is uninviting Donald Trump from the G7 one of the NDP's top priorities? And I believe because they want to be contrarian, because they need to find something to argue with the Liberals about. At a time when national unity is what Canadians want to see, it feels like all the opposition parties are fighting against it. And they really don't know what to do about this Liberal resurgence. Because for the past year, the Liberal Party has been the punching bag of this country. You couldn't go to any social gathering or party in this country without somebody bashing the Liberals. And honestly, they fucking deserved it. They've been the product of a lot of bad economic policy over the past few years. But now with the sovereignty of our country on the table, something that was unthinkable just a few months ago, the Liberals have been able to make drastic changes to their party. Having Justin Trudeau resign, replacing him with someone with financial experience, unifying the party in a way we haven't seen. 2 months ago, the Liberal Party was more unpopular than they've almost ever been. Today, the Liberal Party has the highest approval rating that they've had in 6 years. So what does this mean for an upcoming election? We know that it's very likely an election is going to get called very soon. The latest it can legally happen is October, but with a new Liberal Party leader and a new unelected prime minister, either the opposition parties are going to call another election, or Mark Carney could just call the election himself, which strategically I think would be a good move for him to immediately put his political life on the line and let Canadians decide whether or not they approve of him. I think it would be a favorable move for him to make. We're living through the types of events that history books get written about. No matter what the outcome of this next election, it is likely to be one of the biggest, most legendary and memorable elections in Canadian history. And I also believe, and maybe this might be just some false hope, but I believe we're gonna see an election turnout that we've never seen before. Everybody in this country is aware of the stakes, and everyone in this country wants their voice heard. So honestly, I'm kind of excited. Politics is usually pretty damn boring in Canada. Pretty run-of-the-mill. Most of the elections are fought over like welfare issues and free trade agreements and shit. This is very different. This is very unique. This is unlike any election we've ever seen before in this country. And I will be making a more detailed video about the parties and their platforms closer to the election, so I can help you guys make an informed, unbiased choice on who you should vote for in this upcoming federal election. One thing I'm really looking forward to is the debate. Mark Carney and Pierre on stage going at it against each other. Both people have very long careers. Both people have gone back on their word before. Pierre is a career politician. Mark Carney is an elitist, globalist banker. They're very different people, but they're also very well-spoken and strongly opinionated. So get ready, because we're in for one of the craziest election cycles in all of Canadian history. No hyperbole, no exaggeration. No matter who wins or what the outcome, this is the type of election you tell your kids about. In unprecedented times like this, every option is on the table. Things that were regular norms just a few months ago are going to completely turn on their head. Right now, the biggest threat is economic warfare. In a few months, it could be literal warfare. These are unprecedented times. We have no idea what's going to happen. But if you want to secure the future of this country, do your research and vote. For the love of God, vote in the next federal election. The stakes could not be higher.
We will stand up for Canadians every single second of every single day because this country is worth fighting for. It's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal. But Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.